Good afternoon. This is the Board of County Commissioners meeting. It is 2:03 p.m. It is Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. To my right is Vice Chair Ty Menser. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards. Also in the boardroom, we have County Manager Ramiro Chavez, Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell, and our Clerk of the Board, Jamie Caldwell. We'll start this meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Edwards.
Please join me in a pledge to this great country. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Next, Vice Chair Menser, would you like to do a land acknowledgement, sir?
Yes, ma'am. We would also like to start today's meeting with the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Salish peoples whose elders and ancestors have lived on and cared for the land and waterways of this county since time immemorial, and who still inhabit the area today. Specifically the Squaxin Island, Nisqually, and Chehalis people, our sovereign tribal partners. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. The purpose of this acknowledgement is to disrupt ongoing erasure of injustices done and to remember history as a stepping stone towards healing.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the Tuesday, January 31st, 2023 agenda. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the proposed agenda for Tuesday, January 31st, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Next is an opportunity for the public to address the board. The Board of Thurston County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. The general speaking guidelines are as follows. Please introduce yourself, including the address you reside in the county. Please address the board, not the audience or staff. Please silence your cell phones for those members in the boardroom. Speakers are limited to a total of 4 minutes to address the board. Meeting attendees cannot donate their speaking time to another person. No comments that are lewd and offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature. Please be respectful. No outbursts of any kind. No comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. All materials provided to the county may be considered public records, subject to public release upon request pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256 of the RCW. No remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that could eventually come before the board on appeal. Thank you so much for your cooperation. With that, we'll start with the members that have signed up. If you didn't get a chance to sign up, I'll still call and see if anyone else would like to provide public testimony in the boardroom, and then we will move on to Zoom. The first person I have signed up is Tom Bond. Not here? Okay. Next is John Pettit.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is my first time speaking in this location. And by the way, I still consider it to be outside of the county seat, but that's another topic. Today, we're going to talk briefly about a letter that I had submitted yesterday and the significance why that letter was important regarding today's what was going to be a voucher list that has been removed. If you read the letter, you realize that I provided a document there that states very simple, right from your own county site, the real estate excise tax, REIT 1, and it shows the amount of the budget that was provided. I don't care what anybody's ever talked about. Well, it could be 10 million or something else. It only matters what you actually approved. And so those are the numbers that count. And currently, why it was budgeted for $7 million, currently, according to your records, it says you've spent 8.6 million, almost 8.7 million. So you're about 1.7 million above and beyond the budget amount, of which that's a problem. Now, the voucher list has a plan to be adding another $618,000 of REIT money to be expended. Now, the RCWs very specifically state that if you have a detailed budget appropriation, that's what that $7 million in the REIT fund amount shows. If you have a detailed appropriation, then expending more than that detailed appropriation, it's not the liability of the county. It's the liability, but the official making and incurring such expenditure or issuing such warrant that shall be liable personally, therefore personally, and upon their official bond. So as I was watching some of your agenda setting meeting this morning, I realized that this became enough of a topic to take a look at, but I'm going to make a suggestion to you because I've watched numerous exercises of, we'll get legal's opinion. Well, I'm going to suggest that legal's opinion probably doesn't know anything about accounting. So I think the best way to do is you reach out to the state auditor's office and ask if you could get an opinion from them in regards to expending over $2 million above the detailed appropriation and who's liable for it. This isn't an intention to take a couple of commissioners or bankrupt you guys, but potentially you've been led down a path and you've approved a lot of money that potentially may remove you from office and bankrupt you with debt, because each of you, including these two county managers over here, should be held personally liable for any excess above and beyond the detailed appropriation that's in the budget. You don't get to just play with money like as though it's yours or say, well, it's a concept. No, budgets are different. They're there to protect the citizens. You're here because you want to represent the citizens, which means, of course, that you want to follow the law, not just try to reinterpret everything and create a slush fund out of REIT, which is what it appears you've done, because there's a lot of expenses on that sheet, the budget sheet I showed you, that clearly have no budget appropriation for. So you have a serious problem. Check with the state auditor. This may bite you pretty hard, but I talked about this a year ago. Thank you.
Next is Phoenix Homes.
Hello and greetings. My name is Phoenix Holmes, and I am a resident of the West Side Olympia. I am here to also, I had thought that there was going to be more of us here, but I'm here to also again speak about the Tenino Marysville sex offender situation, and also as a sideline as well for the sold, unsold, and the homeless family. I am a defender and an activist, and I'm also a chaplain. So here's a serious situation, is that meetings have been conducted, and several of them have been very serious. Officials, though, of DSHS and also the county attorney have not shown up for several of these meetings. It has left us feeling a little barefoot that there has been no serious understanding that this is going to affect all communities. Having an unofficial level 4 who is going to reoffend and do such major damage is going to be placed into our children's community, where Marysville has worked hard for years to get up a wonderful, wonderful park. And I'm being told that there was an injunction. Okay, well then why has the building not been appropriately red sealed off? Why hasn't it been fully shut down? The health department code has been not upheld properly, and other codes have not been upheld properly. There has been still no real official notification of everybody. We don't even know who these terrible citizens that you guys are placing amongst us are. We have no clue. There was a old ancient advisory committee called Moms Against Sex Offenders. I hope that they're still in existence. But they used to do advisory books of notification for every single level, no matter if, ands, or buts, to make sure the community was safe and to make sure that the county and also the sheriff's department was held liable. Because if one of those would to reoffend, it was on their heads. It is on your heads. That if any of my people, my sold, unsold, those who have been trafficked, are going to get hurt, if one more person is literally harmed by this, I will have no choice but to take this back into court. If one of my homeless family members is sold into this situation and further hurt, then I must take action in court against you as well. If any of my community family members are hurt and are sold, such as though I had stated earlier, a Lindsay bomb was one of those cases of being sold and harmed and killed. Let me tell you, if another one of those Lindsay bombs show up, I will be very incensed. And the community, I hope, will be incensed and angry to the highest extent. So please, my family, homeless family, the sold and unsold, have already been affected and already devastated by unseemly ordinances that have already been destroying them, bulldozing them, harming them unto death. As I stated in an earlier session, that Ty Menser has huge hand in this situation, and he is culpable, and I'm sorry to say it, but he does have a hand in a lot of it. He could have put a stop to it. So please, again, as I stated earlier, help our citizens of all community against this travesty and put a red seal on that door and stop it now. Thank you.
Next is John Garrett.
Good morning. Thank you, John Garrett, 6045 Hanson Street Southeast, Olympia, Washington. I'm here to once again speak to you about the establishment of the lake, or the attempted establishment of the Lake Management District on Lake Patterson. Patterson is what us old timers call it. And my basic concern is no different than what I've expressed in writing and personally to you the last time we testified over this issue, is that there are no guidelines that define how the steering committee, or I think the term the county uses, the petitioners to establish an LMD, there are no guidelines for how they go about establishing the criteria and ultimately the assessments that impact people financially on the lake. And so that's kind of the bottom line for me. And as a result, those assessments, and I mentioned this last time, are not fair and equitable, because these were people that there's no election process to elect the committee members. They're all volunteers, and they're comparing Patterson Lake to other lakes, which isn't fair because every lake's a little bit different, although the criteria could definitely be the same. All the lowland lakes in Western Washington are very similar. So there are no guidelines. And I was one of the committee members, as I mentioned last time, until they started the rest of the committee. And there were only 3 people that were actively involved at that point in time. There were supposed to be 6 originally. When they started establishing the criteria they were using for the assessments, that's when I quit. That was my last meeting. I stepped down. And so, like I mentioned, as a result of not having any criteria or criteria that's similar for all these lakes, every lake in this county has different criteria. Long Lake uses an assessment that's front footage that they call habitat reserve. And I asked some people in the audience today, what's that mean to you? They mean, well, it's beneficial to fish and wildlife. Guess what? Habitat reserve on Long Lake is a vacant lot. Ridiculous. And they are assessed at $1.74 per front foot. Ridiculous. At any rate, so that's my biggest concern here, and I promise you over Bibles, I'm not concerned about the assessment for me. I'm not rich, but I could handle that. That's not why I'm here. I'm a person that was brought up to be fair and equitable, and kind of my grandpa taught me and my dad taught me that if there's a job worth doing, you do it well, okay? And so another part of this, there were never any meetings held for the lake owners. I won't call them public meetings, but there was never a meeting ever held with the lake owners, okay, or the property owners on Patterson Lake to discuss this criteria and the proposed assessments. None of that. Two of my neighbors kept asking me because they knew I was on the committee. They said, John, when are we going to have a meeting where you can share all this proposal with us? There never was one. And all of the other committees that I've talked to from other lakes have had some type of a meeting with the waterfront owners that would be affected, okay, or the property owners, because there's upland owners that have access to the lake. And I've also heard that you've heard from other petitioners or other people involved. Washington Fish and Wildlife, as a matter of fact, one of their people has voiced their similar concerns that there are no guidelines. There are no guidelines whatsoever. And I've taken this up with some people that know what they're talking about, and they say, well, any other similar committee, like an HOA committee, a condominium committee, they have officers and they have bylaws or they have criteria that they use to do their job, okay? And so I think that's important. This committee never had any guidelines whatsoever when they came up with this stuff. The other thing I wanted to mention is, I know that, this will be 2 seconds. And Ms. Mejia, I gave you a copy of my written concerns last time we had a hearing. I sent those same concerns to Tim Wilson. I have never heard one word back from him addressing my questions. Okay, thank you very much.
You did receive my response though, right? When I sent them to you?
Well, I think it was Jamie, yes, and thank you.
Sorry, I
Yes.
just, 'cause
And I know, I don't know what I'm saying or not, but, and I'm well aware that the RCWs give a basic authority to a committee. But what my concern is, the committee itself doesn't have any guidelines, and I witnessed it right in front of me. So you know, the state RCWs don't address this problem. Okay, thank you. And yes, I think it was Jamie got back to me twice. Thank you very much.
okay. I don't have anyone else unless Tom Bond returned. Mr. Trowbridge, go ahead.
My concerns today are pretty much the same. I've given you again a copy of my January 3rd letter to Tim Wilson. I'm sorry?
Introduce yourself for the record.
If you start the clock over. Anyway, the very first thing I had in the letter,
They want your name and address.
my name's Brett Trowbridge. I live on Hanson Street on Lake Patterson. So the very first thing I put in this letter to Tim Wilson was what are the definitions of all these different categories? Lakefront developed, lakefront undeveloped, upland dwellings, improved beach access, upland dwelling unimproved, multifamily undeveloped habitat. No definitions have ever been given. I think that's the same point that my friend is making here. And we never had a chance to discuss where we were categorized until 2 weeks ago, after the vote had been done. Certainly not the way that the statute contemplates. So all sorts of things have been happening here very rapidly. One is, I guess, that you guys have postponed this for a year, or at least it's not going to start until January 1st, 2024. Although you might start sending it to the tax assessors in August, I gather, or something like that. I think I have that straight. Also, it's been admitted that you really don't have any argument to my statement that we own the bottom of the lake, each lake owner. There's no opinion from any county attorney to the contrary. And most notably, the reason that Mr. Wilson didn't go with the normal election process using the normal election people here in the county, and there was even an election at that time, was that it was too expensive. So, and then he administered an election that appears to have been unconstitutional the way he did it. You know, that's not saying that the statute is necessarily unconstitutional, but if you have all the information on one ballot so that anybody who looks at it knows both how they voted and who it was, then I think that's unconstitutional. That's not the statute. That's Mr. Wilson's interpretation of the statute. So where are we now? You know, we're suing each other. I'm suing you. You're having people sue me. Are we just stalled now until next summer? Are any of these things going to change? You know, our ownership of Lake Bottom isn't going to change. The fact that this thing left out a whole bunch of properties isn't going to change. The fact that there are no criteria isn't going to change. Nothing's really going to change. What are we going to do in August? What's your plan? So, and you know, here's 10 more pages of my handwritten ranting and raving that I thought were too lippy to say in person here, so I'm handing them out to you, and I'll waive my last 1 minute. Thank you.
Anyone else in the boardroom? Can we move on to Zoom?
Thank you. Can you hear me? The members of the public, they're joining us via Zoom.
Yes.
Okay, first I have Mr. Tony Wilson. Please go ahead, sir. Let me see if I can put in, okay.
My name is Tony Wilson. I live south of the airport and north of Tenino. And I want to talk again about this travesty in Tenino. I didn't speak when you had all those people here, and I didn't attend the meeting in Tenino. I want to thank you all for your efforts to thwart this mess in Tenino and for your support of the citizens of this county. I'm not a believer in threatening government officials to gain their support, as some did. Those who would seek to harm them would also necessarily be willing to trade places with the predators that seek release into our communities, and that's unwise at best. That said, DSHS and DOC have no legitimate reason to release known sexual predators in what could be called a target-rich environment in our county. And that's what Tenino is, a target-rich environment for a predator. Channel 5 News interviewed someone in leadership at DSHS yesterday. That person stated that this facility is a DSHS facility with DSHS staff. Both are lies according to public record. We must not trust an executive branch appointee that is willing to lie directly to our faces when caught in an unacceptable action that puts our citizens at risk. The good news is only that the story is no longer contained in our county, but is recognized statewide. These state appointees refused to meet the citizens in Tenino because they were afraid. Really? As government authorized spokespersons for their executive branch agencies, they have the authority to reach out to the state police and to the state attorney general's office support adequate to the threat they received. They didn't do that. They were actually unwilling to meet with the local citizens and justify the unjustifiable action that they took. They have carried this entire operation out under the radar and outside the purview of the citizens of our county. To me, that's not the way a democracy works. It's not the way a republic works. It's advise and consent. And they didn't seek our advice, and we didn't consent to what they're doing. Tomorrow at 6 p.m., these poor frightened government officials plan to offer their thoughts to us and will accept our questions only in writing by meeting time. Maybe they answer them truthfully, maybe again, not truthfully, and maybe not at all. In any case, everyone that is aware of the meeting can be aware of the meeting, as links are posted on digital format of one of our local newspapers, should plan to attend the meeting and submit questions today. Public records are then created whether addressed or not. The county might also publish the link and email address where our questions can be sent. I have registered and I will be sending my questions to them later today. And I will be copying Governor Inslee's office because these appointees are part of the executive branch. I really do appreciate all that you have done. And I think that this is not over till it's over, and we will not give it up, not easily, and probably not ever. If someone wants to send a question, when you register for the meeting, the email address for sending questions is posted there. And I highly recommend that everybody in the county be aware of this and participate. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Ms. Jacqueline Fields. Next, I have Ms. Jessie Simmons.
No comment at this time. Thank you.
Sorry. That will conclude public testimony, Madam Chair.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to county manager's update, but I want to take a quick second to thank Mr. Tony Wilson, because I think he put it out quite beautifully what the commission's been trying to say and do, and I mean, me personally too, as a commission, and so I just wanted to thank you. I think you're absolutely right, sir. County manager's update.
Yeah, I was not prepared to give you any specific update, but since you received public testimony related to the Patterson Lake, I think it's prudent for me to give you a perspective, and maybe for the citizens as well who are present today. As Mr. Throwbridge stated, the county is facing a couple lawsuits. And under the legal counsel advisement, we're going to hold taking any further actions related to this matter until those matters, legal actions are resolved. And also under the legal counsel advisement, we have been provided information that we cannot engage in any additional information related to the Patterson Lake. So more to come.
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear your last sentence or two.
We are in legal advisement that we cannot engage with any citizens related to the Patterson Lake issue.
Okay. And so the final approval's on hold for now until these legal issues are dealt with? Is that?
That is the position our attorney has stated.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions?
I do have a question. I'm just curious, did we post, Mr. Wilson brought up a pretty good issue, I think. Did we post the meeting tomorrow on our county website so people would be able to access it through our website?
I don't believe so, but certainly we can do that.
Could we do that?
Yeah, let me touch base with our PIO.
Okay. Thank you. That was my only question.
Questions, Commissioner Munzer?
It might be worth just saying, and kind of a question / comment, but the Patterson Lake effort to form a lake management district, going back to the beginning, was not a county initiative, correct? It was generated by the community, came to the county commissioners to go through a process that exists in law.
Yeah, that is correct. That was initiated by the citizens, and there is a process well outlined on the state law as to how that petition can be sent to the Board of County Commissioners, and there's several steps that you need to take. And in fact, you have already formed the Lake Management District for Patterson Lake. What is holding at this point is the fees and charges, which you held a public hearing a couple of weeks ago related to that matter. That is at this point is on hold.
Wait, what were you saying? That public hearing is over now? The one 2 weeks ago?
Yep, it was held a
Who
public
won?
hearing.
What charges was I assigned?
Fees and charges. That was the purpose of the public hearing was the fees and charges the.
Yes, and that's what I was disputing. I handed it out again
Yeah,
today.
thank you,
What
sir.
are my fees and charges?
I'm trying to answer Commissioner
Okay.
Menser's question, not yours. So that is the process. At this point is we need, I believe the advisement of our legal counsel was to wait for taking any action on implementing the fees and charges until the legal matters are resolved. Did I answer your question, sir?
Yes, yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of controversy about details and it kind of, and then, you know, frustration gets directed at the county, and we do have decisions to make, and I'm not trying to absolve ourselves from the responsibility for the decisions that the law says we have to make, but this whole process, this is not a county-initiated process. We did not seek out,
I would have to issue with that. I mean, Paula Cracknell wrote every word in the petition, and then the PLA filled out the prices.
Mr. Menzer, if I can speak. I understand what you're saying, but you have the final approval, and if you don't think the process was fair and equitable, I think you have that authority to not approve it.
We're not gonna,
I know, I'm
you know,
sorry.
yeah, and
Just
so,
wanted to clarify his statement.
Much more to come
I
later.
agree.
so.
I don't have
I'm
any
just
other
taking it back
updates.
one step, because I mean, this wasn't my idea to form the Patterson Lake Management District.
True.
Okay,
I do
so
not have any other updates, Madam Chair.
with that, we'll move on to consent items. There's matters A through C. Is there any questions, or would any of the commissioners like to remove any of the items currently on the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, to highlight the changes from this morning on the on the discussion this morning, when you did the agenda for this afternoon, you added a new item, and that is item 3C, where you'll be affirming the appointment of Dr. Lisa Parsley. She is a city council member, and she is representing into the Thurston County Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and that is for a 3-year term, which will expire March 2025. That's the only item that was added since this morning.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve consent items 3A through 3C.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This is a non-debatable motion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer? Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Moving on to department items, starting with the auditors. Item 4A, updating county commissioner districts' legal descriptions due to redistricting as a result of the 2022 general election ballot measure approved by the voters to increase the number of county commissioners from 3 to 5. Tilly Napati Pilar, election manager, will report on this. Is Tilly here? Oh, yes, she is. There we go.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Tilly Napati Polar, Elections Manager for Thurston County. The ordinance in front of you is to update Chapter 1.12 of the Thurston County Code for Commissioner Districts 1, 2, and 3, and to include the newly redistricted Commissioner Districts of 4 and 5.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I don't have any questions. I just want to, this has been an ongoing process, a lot of discussion, and I think that's why there might not be much discussion. Thank you, Tilly, for all of your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Menzer?
No.
Okay. No questions from me. I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve the ordinance for the proposed legal descriptions for county commissioner districts.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer? Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Moving on to Center Services, item 5A, resolution and call for sealed bids for fairgrounds infrastructure improvements. Project number 25560, and Jason Ash, Facility Service Manager, will report on this. Jason?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm here this afternoon to ask for approval to solicit bids for the Fairgrounds Project 25560, as we discussed in the agenda setting this morning, and to provide any further information or answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, plenty of discussion in the past, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
No.
No questions for me. I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve the resolution and call for sealed bids for Fairgrounds Infrastructure Improvements, project number 25560.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to item 5B, resolution and call for sealed bids for Thurston County Public Health and Social Services Water Lab relocation. Project number 25630. Tony Shaw, Capital Project Manager 1, will report on this.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tony Shaw, Capital Project Manager with Central Services. At this time, we are asking the Board of County Commissioners move to approve the resolution and call for sealed bids for the Thurston County Public Health and Social Services Water Laboratory located, or project number 25630. This project will construct a new water sampling laboratory at the Public Health and Social Services Building located at 412 Lily Road in Olympia. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer? And no questions for me. Thank you. I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve the resolution and call for sealed bids for the Thurston County Public Health and Social Services Water Lab, project 25630.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Moving on to community planning and economic development, item 6A, set a public hearing for Development Code Docket Item A-18, agricultural activities, critical areas update, and Ashley Rye, Agricultural Community Program Manager, will report on this.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Just again for the record, Ashley Rye, Agricultural Community Program Manager. I am here to respectfully request to set a public hearing for February 28, 2003, and that would be for docket item A18, and that is updating agricultural activities, critical areas code amendment. The Planning Commission did review this item at 2 work sessions on July 20th and October 5th, 2022. A public hearing was held before the Planning Commission on November 2nd. Following that public hearing, the Planning Commissioner did vote unanimously to recommend approval of the agricultural activities critical areas update. Notice to the Department of Commerce and SEPA have been issued, and a briefing before the board was held January 11th, at which time you directed staff to bring forward an AIS to request a public hearing. Prior to a public hearing, Community Planning will issue a legal notice in the Olympian and advertise the meeting through webmail and press release. Project information can be found on Community Planning's website. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, Ashley did a good job presenting.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
Nope, there's a briefing the board had that folks can watch if they're curious about the details. It's kind of a technical set of issues here.
Thank you. Okay, I don't have any questions. I'm ready for a motion.
I move to set a public hearing on docket item A18, agricultural activities critical areas update for February 28, 2023 at 3:30 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter may be heard in room 110 at 3000 Pacific Avenue Southeast.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I guess for me, I would just like to thank Ashley for all of your hard work and community engagement that you did in this project. You did a lot of legwork, and I thought that was very important for something like this, and got a lot of stakeholders involved, and just very happy when I would go out and speak to the Conservation District. They were just so happy that they were involved in this process, as well as other stakeholders. So just thank you for all your work. I look forward to hearing public comment on this.
Thank you.
With that, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Moving on to Public Works, item 7A, contract award for the Public Works Solid Waste Facilities Pump System Upgrades and Improvements, Stormwater System, CP number 91717, Susan Isham, Capital Project Manager 2, will report on this.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Public Works would ask that you move to approve the contract award for the construction of the Public Works Solid Waste Facilities Pump Systems Upgrades and Improvements Stormwater System Project, Capital Project Number 91717, to Roglins, Inc. of Aberdeen, Washington, in the amount of $1,015,397, and to authorize the Director of Public Works to execute the contract and any change orders for this project due to unforeseen conditions only, not for changes in scope, for up to 10% of the contract amount.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Questions, Commissioner Mensah? Okay, no questions for me. I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve the contract award for the construction of the Public Works Solid Waste Facilities Pump Systems Upgrades. It's a lot of plurals. And improvements. Stormwater System Project CP 91717 to Roglins, Inc. of Aberdeen, Washington, in the amount of $1,015,397, and to authorize the Director of Public Works to execute the contract and any change orders for this project due to unforeseen conditions only, not for changes in scope, for up to 10% of the contract amount, $101,539.70, or an aggregate of $1,116,936.70.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Mensah?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to item 7B, resolution and call for sealed bids for purchasing and planting trees as mitigation for the Marvin Road Upgrade Project, CP number 61478 and CP number 61552. Ryan Blazer, our civil engineer, will report on this. Ryan?
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. Public Works is requesting permission from the board to call for sealed bids for a contract to purchase and plant Oregon white oak trees that will be planted as mitigation for 2 future Marvin Road improvement projects along that corridor. Up to 300 trees between 2 to 3 years old will need to be planted to mitigate for the mature white oaks that will be removed during these 2 future roadway projects. In order to plant trees that are 2 to 3 years old at the projected end of construction of the Phase 1 project in 2025, the trees need to be planted in a nursery now and begin growing. Securing a contract for this work will save approximately 1 year of lead time for the trees to grow. I am open for any questions you may have.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Oh, I could get into the squirrels, but I'm going to pass that up. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Commissioner Mensah, questions?
Where do these trees get planted, Ryan? Where will they be planted, and then where can they be planted? Like, what's the latitude you have to figure out how to mitigate for this project?
Great question, Commissioner Mensah. So we plan to plant these trees in the same general area as the mature trees that will be removed. It'll be close to Marvin Road in the McAllister Park area. We acquired some of that for a stormwater pond for these future projects, and they will be planted around this pond area. Did that answer all parts of your question?
Well, that answered the first part. The second part was just like, how prescriptive is the law? Like, do you guys come up with a plan and think about the smartest place, or do you have options if, in terms of where you can replant to count for the mitigation that you need?
Sure. Some of that is outside of my wheelhouse. We chose the area that we planted because we own the right of way for this new pond area, and it was the exact area that we were removing the old mature trees, and so it seemed the right place to replant for us.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't have any questions. Any more comments? Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve the resolution calling for sealed bids and authorize the county engineer to set the bid date and time for receipt and opening of said bids for the purchasing and planting of Oregon white oak trees as mitigation for the Marvin Road Upgrade Phase 1, 22nd Avenue to Union Mills Road, CP 61478, and Marvin Road Upgrade Phase 3, Union Mills Road to Pacific Avenue, CP 61552 projects.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
Call for the vote.
Aye.
Commissioner Mentzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
I will conclude our department items. Next is item 8A. Commissioners will report on board work sessions and assigned committee meetings, providing updates on actions taken, as well as upcoming issues. Commissioner Edwards, we'll start with you.
I think there's going to be some duplication here, but I'll just a few of the things. Meetings with the state legislators on our legislative issues besides the Tenino issue. And the EDC board meeting, and of interest at the EDC board meeting is upcoming activities potentially at oh boy. County manager, where'd we end up with that pickle down at, what do you refer to the, on Tilly Road, south, yeah, Rocky Perry, what's the outfit though? The Port of Tacoma.
Port of
Port of Tacoma.
The Port of Tacoma?
Port of Tacoma owns it.
Yeah, the Port of Tacoma owns the whole area and the.
Anyway, that's of interest, and there's more to come on that. The port is interested in some type of development down there. So I think we're gonna probably have something presented. And I just want to report that to the board. The Maytown issue, but I just couldn't come up with the Rocky Point.
Related to that, Commissioners, remember you, the Port of Tacoma submitted a formal request to add an item on your docket.
Yeah.
And that is part of the public process that you're going through as directed by the board.
And that was also the gist of that meeting, of the EDC meeting, just so everybody knows. I believe with my seatmates, the Kiwanis caring for kids' breakfast, and also our Lewis Mason Thurston Area Agency on Aging. That particular meeting, we settled most of the contract issues that we had out having to do with labor. Everything went relatively smooth. I think we were able to have a contract taking into consideration the retention and recruitment process that all of us in government seem to be facing. And then numerous town hall and meetings with the sex offender activity down in Tenino. So I think that covers it.
Thank you.
It was a busy week.
Yeah. Commissioner Mentzer?
Yes, busy week, as it has been lately. Salmon Recovery Council, Shalis Basin Partnership for me, Sentencing Guideline Commission meeting on legislative topics, House Washington meeting on housing-related legislative topics yesterday. Attended the Long Lake Management District annual meeting on Thursday night, had a discussion with them about the administrative rules. Attended the point in time count event on Friday at Sergio's Place right here near on Martin Way. Kiwanis breakfast, like my colleagues. Was planning to be at the Sunday Tenino Town Hall until I heard from the sheriff that the state agencies had canceled their attendance, so I did not attend. But tomorrow, I just wanted to point out, I guess this Q&A session, I will be doing an intercity transit meeting, so I'll be watching that after the fact recorded, just in case people are wondering. Working with citizens on Scott Lake community, as I have been for 4 years, trying to come up with solutions to their flooding issues, and we kind of sketched out a path forward with staff. And a citizen group seeking to establish home rule charter in Thurston County had another follow-up meeting with that group. So.
Thank you. Can I ask you a follow-up question about Long Lake and how what was the conversation like? And I know that.
So the first hour of the I was supposed to only be there for like an hour and 15 minutes because I had another obligation. But the first hour was them presenting their activities and their budget, and Doug Harmon did a great job with all of that and letting people know kind of what the philosophy of the Lake Management District is and what they're trying to do, and kind of just overview for those folks. It was well attended. Staff then came in and gave presentation on what folks can do to, not use fertilizers and how to, self-maintain their lake. So that was all informational. And then as I was about to leave, they started talking about the admin rules. So I couldn't leave at that point because that was, I knew, going to be the hot topic. So I stayed for almost all of that. And Doug gave his opinion about the rules and his concerns, exactly what you've heard in emails, nothing really new. Tim Wilson from our staff gave his kind of response to that. The community asked questions kind of with concerns, and Tim did his best. And then I was listening, and finally I couldn't stop to kind of pipe in and just kind of give my 2 cents. I told them that we'd be doing a work session to try to work through some of the concerns, that I would personally try to find middle ground to sort of get over this hump, get administrative rules that work for the county but alleviate some of their concerns. And they seem to be, I gave them one example of that, of something that I might pitch to you guys. They seemed to like that proposal that I had. So we can talk about that at our work session. And then I did have to scoot at that point. So it was good from my perspective. They definitely had a lot of, the main thing was Long Lake's been doing it for so long. What they're really concerned about is that what we do in these written rules will somehow change they're comfortable with the past history, and they're comfortable with working with Tim. They're worried that if we put something in writing that's inconsistent with past practice, and Tim leaves and somebody else comes in, it could change the way they are forced to do business, and they're scared of that. That was my assessment. So they kind of need assurances that these rules are not trying to be drastically inconsistent with past practice. Some clarifications needed. I told them they seemed to be happy to hear that the main reason we were pushing these quickly, and again, quickly is we're in our second year of working on this, so not that quickly, but the reason we wanted to finalize them is because we have the 2 new potential districts coming. It wasn't about trying to change anything they're doing, and in fact, they wouldn't even apply to those, to Long and Lawrence, until they decided to re-up their lake management districts in a couple of years. And some of the people in the room did not understand that, and that seemed to help relieve them. This wasn't an attempt by us to change things with them. It's really trying to set out ground rules for the new districts.
Okay.
So that's kind of the gist of it.
Well, thank you for that. And thank you for attending. I was at Alfie Alvarado's retirement celebration that night. It was lovely to see. We had some of our local VFWs go and present and kind of just share kind of the impact that she had done on not only like Thurston County, but just across the state. So it was great to see a great public servant and the work that she's done for veterans across the state. I agree, it was a very busy week. I've been rating grants for EFSP, which is Emergency Food and Shelter Program. And that's one of our committee assignments. So that's taken up a little bit of time. I did the Nurse Family Partnership home visit yesterday. And I want to thank Gretchen and Fumi, I know she's on vacation today, but it was just great to kind of see that program in action. I hadn't been able to go just because of COVID, and so finally being actually able to go and do that home visit was pretty great.
You had the chance to hold the baby.
And I had a chance to hold the baby, yes. It was a 2-month-old baby, and I was very excited. That was my favorite part, I will not lie. There was, on Friday, I did the Information Technology Director interviews with our county manager, assistant county manager, and great candidates came through. I went for a little bit to the Salvation Army Community Kitchen for our point-in-time count. Again, great job by our staff. Attended the Partners for Children, Youth, and Families, and kind of came up with the sideboards of what we're going to be following for the rest of this year. And attended the Regional Housing Council, and then I attended the Tenino meeting on Sunday, as well as the Kiwanis breakfast, same as my seatmates. So busy, I think, for everyone. Moving on to 8B, the county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule for the week of January 31st, 2023, which will be just as busy, I imagine.
Yes, but before I go to your combined schedule, I'd just like to report that we have uploaded the information related to the committee webinar that is being held tomorrow. Is on our website, up and running. And also, we will be showcasing that in our social media as well. So thank you for your suggestion, Commissioner. So let me walk you through your combined schedule for this week, where at least 2 commissioners will be present. You may have individual appointments on your individual calendars. Those will not be part of my report. After this meeting at 3:30, you have a public hearing related to the procurement of compost material ordinances. And moving on to Wednesday, February the 1st, 9 in the morning, you have a briefing related to the Community Agricultural and Voluntary Stewardship Program. 9:30 tomorrow, you have a briefing related to the railroad quiet zones briefing. That will be an interesting briefing to be part of that. And at 11 in the morning tomorrow, Wednesday, February the 1st, you have been invited to participate on the Big Brothers Big Sisters brunch. It's going to be located on the Hotel Olympia at 2300 Evergreen Parkway, Park Drive. I think is the Commissioner Menser, Commissioner Mejia will tag team tomorrow night. I believe that you discussed that. 5:30 is the Inner City Transit Authority meeting, as well as the Legislative Steering Committee from the Washington State Association of Counties reception. That is going to be located at 610 Water Street Southwest. Thursday and tomorrow is the community webinar hosted by the DSHS and the Department of Corrections from the state at 6 in the afternoon. Thursday, February the 2nd, you have your standing commissioners check-in at 10 in the morning. Nothing, you combine a schedule on Friday, February the 3rd. Moving on to Monday, February 6th, you have at noon your Kiwanis meeting, as well as the Washington State Association of Counties meeting. And Tuesday, February the 7th, 9 in the morning, you will convene in this room to go through your agenda setting, leading to the 2 o'clock Board of County Commissioners. And at 5:30 next Tuesday, February the 7th, you have another public hearing related to the wireless code update. And that's all I have for you, sir.
I thought the Commissioners' check-in this Thursday was canceled.
No, we have that. The next week is canceled.
Okay, I will not be able to attend. I'll be at the LSC. That's when I have the half-day meeting.
And maybe we can talk about whether before the 2 other commissioners.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's fine.
I'm good with canceling that.
Yeah, I have I'm getting a growing list, but there are things that I want Commissioner Mejia to be present for, so.
We'll cancel it. Okay, thank you.
Is there, does it have to be on a Thursday at Commissioners' check-in? Maybe we can do like another day that will work?
Let me look for some options.
Okay.
If next week's gonna be canceled, then
Yeah, next week we have a budget revenue options review.
How about Friday? I mean,
Yeah, let me look at it. We need to look at all your calendars.
okay. Okay, with that, we are adjourned. We will be picking up at 3:30 for our public hearing to consider adoption of compost procurement ordinance. So it is 3:02.